Welcome to another episode of Science Monitor, a show that brings to you the most significant news from the world of science, technology, innovation, research, discoveries, and much more. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor, and here are this week's headlines. National Biopharma Mission launched to make India a world leader in the pharmaceutical sector and reduce healthcare costs. A special report on the cause, prevention and latest treatments on dengue and chikungunya. In an exclusive, we meet Professor Ashutosh Sharma, winner of the prestigious 2017 UNESCO Medal for outstanding contribution in the field of nanoscience and technology. In emerging career choices, we look at the fields of dietetics and gerontology. And this week in history, we remember Marie Curie, the first woman to win the Nobel Prize in Science, not once, but twice. The cost of treatment for diseases like cancer, heart disorders are very expensive and few can afford them. Now, the government is working to establish a better and inexpensive healthcare facilities to make healthcare affordable. Towards this end, the Ministry of Science and Technology launched the National Biopharma Mission on 30th of June to make India a leader in the biopharmaceutical sector. Here is our report.
The Indian pharmaceutical industry is way behind the developed countries like China and Korea. The main reason for this is the huge gap between industry, academia, lack of funds and absence of state-of-the-art infrastructure facilities. Due to this, many innovative research concepts could not get translated into important vaccines or medicines, thus impacting the overall medical expenditure in the country. With an aim to accelerate the biopharmaceutical development in India, the Ministry of Science and Technology launched the National Biopharma Mission.
We call it as the National Biopharma Mission. It will focus on development of nationally relevant healthcare products like vaccines, biotherapeutics, medical devices, diagnostics. And then this new state-of-the-art facility, we are calling it as a shared infrastructure and establishment for the various stakeholders. And also there will be building and strengthening of domain-specific knowledge and management skills, and also the creation and enhancing of technology transfer capabilities in the public and the private sector.
The program aims at bringing revolutionary changes in the field of healthcare. It will not only speed up the development of new and targeted products, but will also bring down the cost of medical expenses for the masses. This mission will offer young scientists, researchers and entrepreneurs with viable ideas and discoveries to share a common platform under the guidance of national and international bodies to manufacture cheap and affordable vaccines and medicines for the common people. Biotechnology Industry Research Assistance Council, BIRAC, will be implementing this program throughout the country.
There is a large gap between these two, excellence in science and leadership in production of generics and vaccines. And that bridge between connecting academia to industry, in being inventive, in being IP, intellectual property driven, and moving from reverse engineering to quality engineering is the big challenge. Therefore, this program, this mission, will build on these excellence in basic science which we have across the country and make sure these platforms come.
Currently, India has only 2.8% share in the global biopharmaceutical market. The program aims at elevating this to 5% over a period of 5 years. With an overall targeted investment of $240 million, the Biopharma Mission will get $125 million as a loan from World Bank.
Certainly from the World Bank side, our money is not what's going to make the difference. It's the bringing together of the different entities and the selectively filling the minor gaps, the minor coordination issues which may exist. And this is well suited for our backgrounds and our somewhat limited, but what we hope, catalyzing role in this whole process.
Science and Technology Ministry, in collaboration with Department of Biotechnology and BIRAC, has launched the National Biopharma Mission with an objective to transform the health scenario in the country, establishing India as a world-class biotechnology hub.
Every year, with the onset of the monsoons, there is an outbreak of diseases like dengue and chikungunya in the country. In 2015, Delhi alone recorded the worst dengue outbreak with more than 15,000 registered cases. This year, 11,402 cases, accounting for 11 deaths of dengue, have been reported. To help you keep dengue and chikungunya under check, Science Monitor brings to you a special report on what causes these viral fevers, what must be done for prevention, and the latest treatments available.
Dengue infection is spread by female mosquitoes of the species Aedes aegypti and to a lesser extent by Aedes albopictus. The mosquitoes breed in stagnant water, which is a common sight during monsoons. The infected mosquitoes acquire the dengue virus by biting an infected patient or carrier individuals who are reservoirs of the disease. They appear healthy but carry low numbers of the virus in their blood. After acquiring the virus, the mosquitoes can spread the disease in 3 to 4 days. They also harbor the virus in the gut and transfer it to their eggs, which they lay in water. The eggs soon become adult mosquitoes and transmit the disease to healthy people. Although the exact dengue burden is uncertain, the World Health Organization estimates that approximately 390 million people get infected by dengue worldwide annually, of which 96 million manifest clinical symptoms. Before 1970, only 9 countries had experienced severe dengue epidemics. At present, the disease is endemic in more than 100 countries. Dengue fever is characterized by high temperature, fatigue, nausea, vomiting, skin rash, pain in joints, and mild bleeding from the nose and gums. The number of platelet cells in the blood also decrease, which are important for clotting after a wound. This makes dengue patients vulnerable to blood loss. If the severity of the symptoms elevate, the patient can also die.
Dengue is a viral disease caused by one kind of virus, that is RNA virus, and virus there are 2 types, RNA and DNA. This is RNA virus and mostly transmitted by the mosquito, so Aedes mosquito. During monsoon season, when there is a lot of accumulation of the fresh water around your community and the society around your house, these are the suitable container for growing the mosquito. Anybody suffering from this infection, then mosquito bites and take the blood, and then again biting somebody and transmitting from one person to another person. So this is how the mosquitoes is transmitting by biting from one person, another person, then from another to another. This is how it spreads rapidly in a community.
After a patient comes to the hospital with high fever, skin rash and pain in the joints or bleeding in some cases, doctors detect the type of dengue virus through a blood test. There are 4 types of dengue virus, named DENV 1 to 4, of which different types are common in different countries. In India, dengue virus 2 and 4 were the most common type in the year 2016. It is advised to report to a health center in the first 2 to 3 days when the symptoms appear, because the disease is relatively easier to manage in this period. There is no cure for dengue. The disease, however, can be managed in most cases by prescribing antiviral drugs and putting the patient on fluids to reduce the viral load. The patients are advised not to take drugs without consulting a doctor, as some drugs like aspirin can worsen bleeding. Chikungunya, like dengue, is more likely to spread in monsoons. It is a mosquito-borne disease with symptoms of fever, severe joint and muscle pain, headache, nausea, fatigue and rash. It shares clinical signs with other mosquito-borne diseases like dengue and Zika, which is a reason for misdiagnosis. Hence, it is confirmed by a blood test. There is no cure for chikungunya, and the treatment is focused on relieving the symptoms by giving drugs to reduce virus and fever. In India, a major chikungunya outbreak occurred in 2006 and 2007. To ensure the country doesn't witness chikungunya outbreaks again, measures such as changing water of indoor plants and coolers, keeping lids of water tanks closed, and disposing of unused scrap and keeping surroundings clean have to be meticulously followed.
And it's time for a very short break here. When we come back, we will bring to you a report on a clinical trial in India which reveals that preterm babies only need mother's milk for 6 months, just like those born after a normal term of pregnancy. That's after a short break. Keep watching Science Monitor.
Hydroelectric cell has been invented by us in India. It is internationally recognized, accepted, and it's a low cost, which is non-toxic. It does not use any of chemicals in it. Besides this, it's a portable, can be used anywhere, anytime, day, night.
Watch Eureka with Dr. R.K. Kotnala, Chief Scientist at National Physical Laboratory, Delhi, only on Rajya Sabha Television.
Welcome back after the break. World Health Organization recommends 6 months of exclusive breastfeeding for infants. However, no recommendations exist for those born preterm. Now, babies need mother's milk for the right nutrient mix as well as antibodies to fight infections. A clinical trial conducted in India now reveals that premature babies only need mother's milk for 6 months, just like those born after a normal term of pregnancy. Science Monitor tells you why this step is so important.
The normal full term of pregnancy is 37 weeks. Babies born before 34 weeks of pregnancy period are called preterm. There are more than 15 million preterm births worldwide every year, which is the leading cause of death in children below 5 years of age. Preterm babies are born with a lower body weight and are weak. Approximately 1 million preterm babies die soon after birth. Babies need mother's milk that contains fat, protein, minerals, carbohydrates, and antibodies. While antibodies are important to maintain the baby's immune system, other nutrients are required for growth. After 6 months of age, babies are fed with complementary food that consists of semi-solid, soft, or solid foods other than breast or animal milk. There is a notion among clinicians and people that since these babies are born weak, they may need complementary formula food early in life, that is before 6 months for proper growth. A new study conducted by doctors, including from the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi, has demolished this myth.
Preterm babies are born before time. Let's say a baby is born 2 months earlier. So the age that we take in these preterm babies, I mean, let's say a baby is 6 months old. So we subtract that period of prematurity from the age. So a preterm baby who's born 2 months earlier, at 6 months he would be considered as 4 months baby. So therefore, I mean, we need to, so this is known as corrected age. So when do you feed them? When do you feed them at 6 months or at 4 months? The real age or the corrected age? So these are the issues that we try to address through this study. And it's a very important study because until now there are hardly any studies.
The clinical trial was a randomized study. In this type of study, the preterm infants were assigned to one of the two groups. First group received breast milk for 6 months. The second group received breast milk for 4 months, after which they were given complementary feeding for another 2 months. After 6 months were completed, infants of both the groups were studied for infections and hospital admissions. They found that instead of being a help, starting an early complementary diet in preterm infants had an adverse effect. It increased the number of hospital admissions, indicating that these children were prone to infections. The doctors inferred that complementary feeding needs to be started at 6 months of age for preterm children also, just like done for normal-term babies. This age, however, indicates corrected age, which means that if an infant is born 2 weeks before the expected date of delivery, he or she must be put on complementary diet at 6 months plus 2 weeks of age. In other words, complementary diet should start only 6 months after the scheduled time of delivery. The study results have been published in medical journal Lancet Global Health. Scientists found that instead of being a help, starting an early complementary diet in preterm infants had an adverse effect. It increased the number of hospital admissions, indicating that these children were prone to infections.
So most of our infants, more than 50% of them were receiving bottle feeding despite all the advice that we gave them. And we believe that that could be one factor that could have introduced the infection in these infants, because all the infants who were hospitalized, most of the hospitalizations were due to either diarrhea, that is loose motion, what you understand in common language, and lower respiratory tract infection like pneumonia and bronchiolitis and other such infections. So we would like to emphasize that the bottle feeding should be kept to a minimum. It should not be introduced as far as possible, and only the katori spoon feeds should be given to the infants, because that is one important source of infection and it's really very difficult to maintain hygiene.
Besides AIIMS, the team consisted of researchers from Kasturba Gandhi Hospital and Vardhaman Mahavir Medical College and associated Safdarjung Hospital in New Delhi. This new finding will help policymakers in devising medical guidelines for feeding preterm infants who are vulnerable to death soon after birth.
In an exclusive interview in our Meet the Scientist segment, we talked to Professor Ashutosh Sharma, who received the prestigious 2017 UNESCO medal for his outstanding contribution in the field of nanoscience and nanotechnology, a field that is helping to provide solutions to areas such as energy, health and environment. Professor Sharma, who is also the Secretary, Department of Science and Technology, talks about India's contribution in this emerging field as well as his research projects.
Nanoscience is the study and application of extremely small things across different branches of sciences such as chemistry, biology, physics and engineering. Under this, nanoparticles and nanoclusters are studied in depth to find out a better and more efficient solution that technology can bring about in our day-to-day lives. Eminent Indian scientist Professor Ashutosh Sharma has been awarded the UNESCO 2017 medal for his outstanding contribution in the field of nanoscience and technology at an award function held in Paris.
It is not a reflection of individual achievements, but the fact that we had this system in place which allowed very strong research in nanotechnology in the country. Second aspect of any award is that it's also inspirational to younger people. So they say, look, well, somebody working in India has been able to do it. So their level of aspiration goes up.
Professor Ashutosh Sharma's contribution in the field of energy, health and environment is making nanotechnology quite popular in India. In his opinion, very soon India is going to witness remarkable applications in the field of nanoscience. One of his interesting research areas is related to the dry eye syndrome. In a normal scenario, our eyes are kept wet by tears that form a layer on the eye cornea, the outermost layer of the eye. Patients with dry eye syndrome have red, dry and itchy eyes. This is because patients with dry eye syndrome experience breaking up of tear membrane in the interblinking period. Professor Ashutosh Sharma's group took a different approach to understand dry eye syndrome. They used nanotechnology to address a biomedical problem. They used ultra-thin nanofilms that mimic the properties of the tear membrane of the eye to understand wetting, dehydration, break and damage of tear membranes. This discovery successfully challenged a long-standing myth that the mucus coating of the cornea is responsible for wetting of the cornea by the tear film. It helped in better understanding of the mechanism of tear film breakage in dry eye syndrome.
It's in all of science. there are actually what I call 3 M's of doing science. These 3 M's are materials, mechanics, and manufacturing. So what happens is mechanics is understanding of how things work. Right? It could be nanomechanics means how things work on nanoscale. What are the properties? Can we understand these properties? Can we manipulate these properties? Can we design these properties? So this is mechanics part. The other part is making materials with the right kind of properties for right applications. Then finally, once you understand something and you have the material, you still have to manufacture.
Apart from science, Professor Sharma has a special interest in art as well. Whenever he finds time, he expresses his scientific imagination beautifully on canvas. Professor Sharma believes that science and art is very deeply connected with each other. Just like a painter puts his hard work and dedication to create something unique, similarly a scientist also puts his best efforts in research to make the life of people easier than ever before.
Well, another short break in here. Coming up after the break, new courses in central universities provide young students with an array of new age career options. We will take a look at 2 interesting courses this week, dietetics and gerontology, but that's after a short break.
The story we thought we knew. The story of magnificence. The story of bloody battles. Of those who ruled and those who left their footprints. The story charting the course of our past. Talking history on Rajya Sabha TV.
Thanks for staying with us. To help you choose the right career, Science Monitor brings to you 2 interesting courses this week, dietetics and gerontology. Now, both are emerging fields with excellent career perspectives. Students can pursue these specialized courses after graduating in science. Science Monitor brings to you all the information about dietetics, the study of food, and gerontology, the study of taking care of the elderly.
Dietetics is the study of food and nutrition and their effect on health. Dietitians work with hospitals, clinics and sports centers to counsel people about a healthy diet and correct lifestyle choices. After training in dietetics, students get the opportunity to practice as a dietitian or a nutritionist. Their study helps them plan, monitor and supervise the diet for patients with medical conditions like diabetes, food allergies and stomach or intestinal disorders who have special food requirements. Patients of diabetes, for example, are not given a carbohydrate or sugar-rich diet. To become a dietitian, students need an undergraduate or postgraduate diploma or degree in dietetics. Many universities including University of Delhi, University of Punjab, MS University in Baroda and SNDT University in Mumbai offer this course. Students get to learn about microbiology, chemistry, human physiology, food science, dairy technology, quality control and biochemistry.
Focus in the community on importance of diet and nutrition has now come, and therefore now people are becoming more aware. Earlier, if there was a diabetic patient, he would never go to a dietitian, or even for weight loss you would never go to a dietitian. But now that awareness has come that there is a profession called dietitians, and therefore this course is becoming more popular and people are hearing about it.
In addition to dietetics, another interesting course is gerontology. This is the study of caring for the elderly and managing their special needs. It sensitizes students to the social, physical, mental and emotional needs of the elderly. It also trains them how to help the elderly in managing their health scientifically. With more than 15 million Indians above the age of 60 years living alone, the course on gerontology is gaining popularity and will offer an excellent career option.
Well, this is one of the first which has been introduced in the country. There has been no such course earlier. Gerontology is basically the science for caring for the elderly. So it's different from geriatrics because geriatrics deals with the medicinal aspect, the medical treatment of ailments, but gerontology is generally the care of the elderly, which encompasses the improving the quality of life of the elderly.
Presently, a few institutes like the Institute of Home Economics under the University of Delhi, National Institute of Social Defence New Delhi and Tata Institute of Social Science in Mumbai offer post-graduation courses in gerontology. They get to learn about the science of aging, social aspects of aging, psychology, rehabilitation and clinical nursing amongst other subjects. Completing this course, students get to work in hospitals, non-governmental organizations or NGOs and clinics. They can start their private daycare centers for the elderly too.
And before I sign off for today, in the history of science this week, we remember Marie Curie, the first woman to win the Nobel Prize, and not once but twice. She is also the only person to win the Nobel Prize in two fields, physics and chemistry. In 1903, Marie Curie shared the Nobel Prize with her husband Pierre Curie and French physicist Henri Becquerel for her work on radioactivity. The second time, in 1911, she won the Nobel Prize for discovering two radioactive elements, radium and polonium. Marie Curie graduated in physics and mathematics from Paris and later served as the director at the Radium Institute of the University of Paris. In 1934, she died due to aplastic anemia, which is a rare disease in which all blood cells die. It was caused by exposure to radioactivity because at that time the harmful effects of radioactivity were unknown. A remarkable woman who is a true inspiration. Well, that is all for this episode of Science Monitor. Do send in your feedback and suggestions. Our email ID is news@vigyanprasar.gov.in. You can also write in to us at Vigyan Prasar C24, Qutub Institutional Area, New Delhi 110016. That is all for this episode of Science Monitor. I'll see you again next week with another amazing episode of science news and innovations. Till then, goodbye and take care.